Hey everyone, and welcome back to Teammates, a Link Media original podcast. Today we have the pleasure of talking to Graham Stewart, a former Florida and UConn linebacker. We talk about his journey from being a 4-star recruit at Xavier in Connecticut to going to the University of Florida, his experience transferring to UConn, fighting through some serious injuries, his mindset on training for greatness, and eventually making it into the NFL. Graham was an incredible athlete, but also an amazing person off the field. Hope you guys enjoy the interview. This is our longest yet. Sit back and enjoy the episode. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Teammates podcast. We are now on episode 9. Today we have a very special guest from my playing days at UConn, a very, very talented linebacker and great dude. Now lives in Florida. We'll get his story. Graham Stewart, thank you for coming on. Appreciate your time, man.
Nick, what a pleasure to be on this. One of the top 10 episodes right now. Yeah. But I think you're a little generous saying very talented. I mean, I was decent, man. I did my job, and so that was it. But thank you again for having me on.
Well, we'll get into that in a second here. So. Let's dive into kind of your background a little bit from, Middletown, Connecticut. And let's talk about it.
Yeah, man. So I'm actually from Durham, Connecticut.
Or Durham.
It's a little like that. Don't worry about it. Even people in Connecticut, you tell them, that town, they're like, never heard of it, buddy.
Exactly.
But I went to high school in Middletown. Right. To an all boys Catholic school. That was a great time. Xavier. And man, just a New England kid now in the 305. Just enjoying the roller coaster.
Yeah. Well, the weather's certainly better down in Florida. But so you grew up in Connecticut. Talk us through like your start into sports and how you got involved kind of, growing up into, going into high school and then, playing high school ball at Xavier.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So grew up in Durham, Connecticut, like we said earlier. Yeah. I was the youngest of 4, and all my siblings were kick-ass, great athletes. So I think you benefit a lot from being the youngest, right? Because if you're able to absorb everything they're doing, and I didn't want to go into middle school. Everybody, by the time you get into middle school, they're like, oh, there's another Stewart kid walking through. And brother was a great football player. Sister was a great soccer player. Other sister, great track athlete. Right. So I'm going into it and I'm like, hey, man, I can't be the worst one out of the family.
You got high standards to live up to.
Yeah, man, I got to make something of myself. So, I grew up idolizing, my siblings and envying, the work ethic that I saw they put into athletics and the success they had, embodied like confidence in myself. Like, hey man, like, I can be something, I'm going to be a good athlete. But that really, it really wasn't the case. When I first started, I played a lot of different sports, and for the most part, when I started, youth football, I was an offensive lineman,
Exactly.
And I had, if anybody else can relate to this, from growing pains, I had plantar fasciitis, like at the bottom of my feet. So I was super slow, I was, I remember my first like jamboree, it being so hot. And, my brother's there, my dad's there, and I was atrocious. I was terrible, dude. I was overheating, I think I like duct taped my pads because I wanted them to look like the NFL guys' pads.
That's funny.
So that was kind of, that was the start for me. My whole mindset was like, hey man, I got to be, better than my brother and sisters.
That's cool. That's a good story. Yeah, I didn't know that. Youth football, everyone plays all kinds of different positions, I guess. And even sometimes in high school, I played O-line in high school, so, it's, everyone plays different positions and then eventually settles into it. So, you became a great athlete. I know you're being humble, but I think you were a 4-star recruit.
Yeah. Out of high school, I was a 4-star guy, and my Zoom's kind of acting up on me. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah,
as long as you can still see me, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming out of high school, I was a 4-star guy. I'm kind of like looking at your bullets, and I think a lot of people would take, this is kind of like when the competitor in me and the, just my tenacity, came out. And even though like I was a 4-star, in my mind, I was like, what? I should be a 5-star.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
why am I a 4-star? Yeah.
Being ranked, I think I was like the 16th ranked, guy in the country. And, my mom and dad, they're so proud, and they would bring it up to me, and I would just look at them and be like, I can't believe they think there's 15 guys better than me.
That's the mindset though. You've always had that dog mindset. Like no one's better than me. Yeah. So, I mean, so obviously, you had a slow start, but you really came into it in high school, and you came into yourself a bit to be able to, I know it, you weren't a 5-star, but being a 4-star recruit is very, very, very good. So where was that kind of sticking point in high school for you? Was it a certain year? Was it a certain moment that you're like, damn, I love this thing. I love this game. And, I could really do something with this.
I think before we really go into high school, I mean, I think I can still kind of, in youth ball and being young. And when I was young, it was always a challenge, right? Because, at the end of the day, there's so many politics that are at play when it comes to this.
For sure.
And I was always a selfless guy, team, the team first, whatever the team needs, man, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to be the best at it. And so I remember, I would be playing youth ball in Cromwell, Connecticut, and the majority of the game I would be lining up at like left guard. And I remember, they came up to my dad one day, and they're like, we're so happy you brought your son here to play for our, program. We finally found our pulling guard. Dad, and my dad was a great football player. My dad played at Rowan. He was a defensive lineman. And, grew up, my older brother was a safety. And so my dad, when he hears, pulling guard, he's like, pulling guard? He's like, this guy's the fastest person on the team. Why is he an offensive lineman?
Exactly.
And, in my head, I was just so happy because I just wanted to go out there and hit somebody. You know what I mean? I wanted to go out there and be like, hey, man, I'm top dog, like show that I'm a man. So anyways, I would play, guard, offensive lineman, but then a situation like 3rd and 20 would come up, and they would put me in at running back. And not only, would I get the first down, I would like haul off a 70-yard touchdown. And like, I'd have, 6 touches that game, 5 of them for touchdowns, the other one for 40 yards. But in their minds, I was, the perfect pulling guard. But
you can also rip off touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it really kind of took off. We kind of left. We left that program, and I kind of went and played in North Branford down at the Shoreline. I think Timmy and I played for like the same youth program, and that's, I was watching, I was obsessed, dude. I was watching YouTube videos of Brian Dawkins, Ray Lewis, Takeo Spikes, all these guys. And that's when I just became like, I didn't care about offense at all. I would go out there, I would drive somebody 20 yards playing offensive line, pancake them. And then I was like, dude, I just hope we get back on defense, because that's when early on, I just kind of had that instinct of knowing where the ball was going to be and closing on it. And I mean, that's kind of when it took off. And what ended up happening was my local high school really didn't have a football program. We really didn't have, we had like it was combined with Vinyl Tech, which was like a VOAG program. So they were literally, Nick, it was laughable. It was the small, and like, listen, my hometown buddies who went there and played, well, like they're great guys and everything like that. But like I'd go to their games, because like they wouldn't play on Friday night. Like, they'd play on Wednesday or Thursday, and like it looked like they were playing the children of the poor, or you know what I mean? Like the uniforms didn't match. You had guys wearing different kinds of helmets. And also, I wrestled, I played lacrosse. So that you got to think about it. In Connecticut, it's already small. So if you're the smallest, if you're the smallest conference, you're not really going to get your name out there. You're not. Right. And for me, it wasn't even about that. It was, my parents wanted to send me to a great high school. And so I ended up going to Xavier. And that's when, the ball really started rolling for me.
Yeah. When you decided to go to Xavier. So, obviously that decision was a good one. You ended up playing, you were on the state championship teams as well, right? You guys.
Yeah. So when I first got to Xavier, a lot of people don't know this, but like my freshman team who ended up, going on and being the senior team that kind of kickstarted the dynasty.
Right.
We were the worst football team of all time.
Really?
We were terrible.
Didn't know that.
So first of all, I didn't even play defense. Oh, I played running back. That was it. Right. Yeah, I wore number 5. I thought I was going to be like the white Reggie Bush. And we were trash. We were bad. We were so bad. And I remember, telling myself, hey man, this isn't how the story is going to go. This is going to turn around and we're going to get better. And we eventually did. We got better every year. And there was older guys ahead of me, like Will Tye, who went on to play at Florida State and then play with the Giants.
Yeah.
And then, we played against him when he was
at Stony Brook. I remember.
And then one of my best friends, a guy by the name of Julian Hayes, went on to play running back at Monmouth. So we had so much talent, so much raw talent in that little area. And kudos to the coaching staff that we had being able to, because sometimes when you have a lot of talented guys, it's hard to corral that and harness it.
And put them in the perfect spots, yeah.
Put them in the perfect spots, we had a winning culture, right? Whether it was in the weight room, whether it was in the classroom, focus on being a winner, focus on doing things the right way. And I think that really helped, mold and cultivate the guys you see come from there, guys like Tim, guys like Sean Marinan, like high character dudes who want to do things the right way. And hey man, you want me to run through this brick wall? It was fun. I think a lot of guys went there for, an athletic opportunity. So you were able to get a lot of like-minded guys together. And that eventually, turned into that undefeated season my senior year. And those younger guys, the publicity from, hey man, like, Coach Marinan does such a great job. This program is so dominant. You were able to funnel even, better athletes. And, for the next, 3 years, I think they went on to be, undefeated and do great things. And when you want to go to the next level, and this applies to, I would say this applies to all life.
Yep.
And all, even if you're in business or anything like that, is you want to be on the winning team. It opens up so many more doors. And people want winners at the end of the day. If you have that in your DNA, it's something that you're going to embody and take a lot of pride in everything you do.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. You're right. It is tough to get over that hump per se when you're trying to win and you're not in that mindset and culture and flipping it from something that you weren't like used to doing before. So but just embodying the mindset in everything you do all the time, it's super important. And obviously you guys did that at Xavier to start the dynasty. And then I think so for everyone listening, we had Tim Boyle on in episode 3. He was the quarterback, and he ended up winning 3. I think he said 3 state championships. Yeah,
he won 3. Oh God, it was Timmy. I think Timmy was a sophomore when I was a senior.
Yeah, exactly.
And and shout out to Tim and the whole Boyle family. They were, they're awesome people. Everybody was awesome, man. Sean's family. Of course his dad is the head coach, but his dad was such a crucial mentor for a guy like me. And, I think anybody who's listening or watching this, it's important that you pay attention to the leadership, because it's crucial, right? You look at us at UConn, right? When you don't have a foundation, when it's constantly new faces coming in, and it's this constant game of, okay, now I got to gain this person's trust, and it becomes more business, right? I think, football at its purest is in high school, right? There's not a lot of money involved. There's not a lot of these things. It's the passion, right? The passion's there. And then you get to college and it's kind of like, all right, well, this coach likes this, so I got to act this way. This coach likes that, so I got to act this way. There's always, oh, this is our motto. This is our creed. This is it. When it's, I think it comes down to just winning. I don't want to sound like Al Davis, but like at the end of the day, man, if you want to, be in the limelight, get the best recruits, do all this, you got to win. That's what matters.
I mean, absolutely. It definitely at the end of the day, that is what matters. In high school, you're right. It's a more pure mindset of the sport, I guess. There is in college, like you said, it's you feel the pressure, you see the pressure, you have to earn people's trust. There's a lot of different facets and things that complicate everything. In terms of you relating to everyone, understanding everybody, building the winning culture, everyone being on the same page. It's there's so many facets to that. So that's an interesting conversation. So let's turn to in high school when you started coming into your own at being a good player. You started to get recruited. And then, I'm sure a light switch hit. You're like, damn, this is like, I could actually go and do this at the next level. So take us through that a little bit, and then eventually your decision to originally go to Florida.
Yeah. So it starts pretty early for me. I'm so thankful to have the parents that I had, right? Yeah. My dad was crucial, and early on, like kind of almost like subconsciously implanting the idea of me playing college football, being a great athlete, right? So I used to go up, and he was good friends with Bob Otrando, who was the strength and conditioning coach at UMass. So like I used to go up, even when I was in, 8th grade, early in high school, I would go up and watch, UMass's spring practices, see them in the weight room, kind of see what it took. And I'd be sitting there like, I'm better than these guys. But that was, and a lot of people will perceive that as a cockiness, but it was a confidence, right? Yeah. It was, yeah. Hey man, I wasn't there at the time, but I knew I could cultivate and become that. So for me early on, I set these goals, right? So I got a little dungy, a basement weight room downstairs at my parents' house. And that's kind of like, that was like the dream factory.
The dream factory.
Because we had, this drywall, and I would take a Sharpie and I would write down, I'm going to run this kind of 40. I'm going to bench this much. I'm going to get this many offers, and I think that's the biggest thing when you're setting goals, you can't just set it in your mind, like write it down, man. And I still carry these same principles and philosophies in the professional world. I'm going to do this X amount in sales. I'm going to, penetrate this account. I'm going to do this. So early on for me, I knew, I remember this pretty vividly. I was driving in the back seat of Ryan Caton's Blazer. He was a guy who was also from Durham. He was a senior. And he was talking about how he was going to Bates to play quarterback, and he was giving me a ride home, and I was just, kind of looking out the window, listening to him, and he was like, where do you think you're going to go, Graham? And I remember I was like, I'd like to go to like Penn State, Notre Dame, or, USC. And I remember he was like, he started laughing.
Damn.
And he was like, yeah, because nobody where I'm from, and he's laughing, and he's like, no, but seriously. And I'm like, no, dude, like I'm being serious. Like I'm gonna make this happen.
Yeah.
And I think it was, this huge, right? Imagination is the precursor to making dreams a reality, right? So you have to like imagine these things. Oh, and I would just I'd go downstairs, look at that board, hey, am I where I want to be? No, I'm not there yet. So what do I need to do? I need to work harder. And so I would just imagine these things, and it sounds weird, but like I almost feel like I imagined it into fruition, to happening. And when I realized it was going to probably be a real possibility, I was probably like a sophomore in high school, and I was noticing, coaches were coming, college coaches, UConn coaches were coming to practices or like that. And, I think when I got my first offer, there was so much work and there was so much, blood, sweat, and tears, not to sound cliche, that went into it, that, when Randy Edsel called my house when I was, a junior, I was sitting on my bed, and, I couldn't believe it. I started, even right now, like I get emotional because there's so many parts that go into it. And there's and to be a parent, looking at it as I get older now, right. We're reminiscing on glory days, but I can only imagine, the pride my parents felt knowing like, hey, like our son, like he's going to go to school for free.
He's doing it.
He's doing the things that he imagined. And it goes by quick, but it's a fun experience. And the recruiting experience is much like, the dating experience. You're meeting these like new girls, and each girl you're like, oh dude, I love this.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I love this.
She's the best. And then the next one comes along and you're like, forget that one.
Yeah, exactly.
But for me, I loved winning. That state championship to me, and that feeling of winning was everything.
Yeah.
So in my head, I was like, you know what? I wonder what it's like to win a national championship.
Yeah. Right.
Which program can I join to win a national championship? And so, I ended up, choosing the University of Florida because I felt like that gave me the best option. I think, what was it, 2008? They had won the national.
Yeah. To give some context, Florida was just in the national championship conversation because they had just won. I mean, Tebow, an all-time great college player, take them. They were in multiple national, championship games, and they won. They won 2, maybe. I think, did they win 2 with them? Yeah, I think we won.
We're gonna sound like terrible football people right now because we don't know that.
I know exactly. I know.
We need who's Joe Rogan have? He's got his
15,
James.
Yeah, I know.
Jamie, look that up. Jamie,
look that up. Yeah, who we got? We got on the screen. So Florida was just in the national championship, conversation, and and competitiveness, and the winning was there. So that totally makes sense. And so that was 2012, or was that 2013? What year did you graduate high school?
2012.
2012.
Hold on. Florida football national championship.
We're checking the
yeah, we got to fact check.
Yeah,
let me. So 1996, 2006, and 2008.
2008. Yeah, that was the last. Yep. So they won 2. Yep.
And so obviously, growing up, football was king in my house growing up. So I knew, and it wasn't so much like, and we didn't watch a lot of NFL football. Still to this day, my dad doesn't watch a lot of NFL. We sat down, we watched college, right? Yeah. Because I think there's such, it might be different now with the NIL deals,
right.
And it's a little bit wonky where you can just kind of pick up your stuff and walk away from a university. I mean, I did that, so I can't really point a finger. But just like, we were, I remember my brother and I, we would always sit down and watch like Florida State versus Miami play, and a lot of people don't know this, but like I had those were like the 3 schools I kind of had my eyes set on, it was Florida State, Miami, and Florida.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's a good story. And I mean, So obviously, you had some sort of attraction to go to the state of Florida. So let's transition to going to Florida, your freshman year there, your experience at Florida in a program like that, because this is interesting to me too. Because honestly, I haven't heard this at all, and there was an interesting moment that I found. I didn't know, but you had a touchdown in the bowl game that you guys played in.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
It was actually, I mean, so reference for everybody, Chris Rainey, I think we broke the most blocked punts that year. I think we have the record, the college record, I don't know, whatever it was. But all year I was like the battering ram. Like I would run in. I was, I played on every special teams, and I had the worst job on every special team. Like I was like, I remember like we were playing LSU, and it was like, yeah, Graham, you got to block Barkevius Mingo.
Yes.
And and like, and don't get me wrong, I did such a good job that they eventually were like, hey man, like we actually want you to play like H-back tight end and do this on offense. Yeah. But I mean, I was just, I remember all year long, dude. I mean, and for people, who aren't affluent in football, the shield is usually comprised of like your three largest humans making sure that the punter, doesn't get touched. So I was just all year. I mean, God, my poor brain. Luckily, like I was genetically engineered for contact. I feel like my skull is like an extra 3 inches thick. So
you're engineered for it. Yeah.
No, I'm not experiencing any CTE, knock on wood. But I remember, hitting the shield, and then I remember hearing that, the worst sound a punter or somebody can hear, that double thud. And I looked to the left, and I'm like, hey man, the ball's bouncing, and I just take off running towards the ball, and I'm like, wait, there's nobody around me right now. And I remember, I looked so cautious. I almost came to a complete stop, and I picked it up, and then I'm running. And I'm like, I'm about to score a damn touchdown in this game right now. And I remember just, getting in the end zone, throwing the ball, it was definitely like, it's always, it's a highlight to me. And, I remember I was after the bowl game, I flew back home. I was in Madison Square Garden, and they're like rolling through ESPN top 10 plays.
Oh, no way. Let's go.
Yeah. And like the number 3 play comes up, and I'm wearing my Florida gear at the time. And obviously like I'm the only white person out on the field. And I remember the guy next to me just looks at me, looks at the screen, then looks at me again. He goes, he's like, is that you? I'm like, yeah, that's me. I mean, I had long hair at the time.
Holy cow.
So
who are you playing in that game?
That was against Ohio State. So
Ohio State. Wow. That's a big game.
My freshman year was Muschamp's first year. Remember, Meyer had stepped down.
Right after Meyer stepped down. Yep.
Yeah, but then Meyer's at this game because the next year Meyer takes over.
Ohio State. That's wild.
So there was a lot of tension going. That was it wasn't like a huge bowl game. Like that.
It was a Tax Slayer Bowl, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Tax Slayer Gator Bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
In Jacksonville.
Exactly.
And the SEC was juiced to the gills that year. I mean, that was the year Trent Richardson was the running back in Alabama.
Just going nuts. Yeah.
And we had a good game against them. I mean, that was the loudest football game I've ever been to.
Really?
And
that's awesome.
John Brantley in like the opening quarter threw a bomb to Andre DeBose, and he caught it for a touchdown, and the swamp just erupted. But my path to Florida was an interesting one because they basically discovered me. There's been certain guys from Connecticut that have gone to Florida. We're not going to touch on them.
Right.
But Steve Adazio, who was the offensive coordinator at the time, right? Because I was recruited by like Urban Meyer, Charlie Strong, Adazio. Those guys were there, and Adazio came up to Connecticut to visit some family because he used to be he was like the all-time winningest high school coach in Connecticut when he coached at Cheshire High. But he came up to see some family, and he ended up coming to like a high school playoff game. And it happened to be, Xavier was playing Staples. and he was like, wait, who's this guy out here? I mean, this guy's pretty good. So they kind of like invited me down to like, I had to earn the right to be on that team, and that's the way that's the way I wanted it. Because for a long time I was a Boston College commit, and
you're right, right.
I mean, like Luke Kuechly was my host on the visit, like but I wanted something different. And like I said before, it was about being able to play for a national championship, and that was my vision. So that's kind of how I got down there. I went down there, did like a little private workout. I remember it being the hottest day of my life. I mean,
I bet that is next level hot down there.
It was brutal, but being from Connecticut and being from like a small farm town and seeing, the juggernaut that is the SEC, and like how just the town is just, the town runs on that football, you know, like
Janesville.
It's everything to them. So that energy was contagious to me, and that was the reason, when signing day came, it was like, hey man, I want to go. Everybody keeps telling me I can't do this, I can't do that. I got Ryan Caton laughing at me in his blazer because I'm telling him I want to go play football somewhere, and now I'm laughing at him because I did what I was going to say. And so there was a lot of people who were like, well, he'll go to the University of Florida, but he'll never play. Flash forward, to the Taxslayer Gator Bowl and scoring a touchdown,
Yeah, and playing as a freshman. I mean, it's tough to play as a freshman, regardless, especially in the SEC. I mean, like that's and you carved out a good role for yourself, and you didn't redshirt, did you?
No, I didn't redshirt.
Yeah, that's right. That was you're a true freshman playing and doing that. So I mean, that's an amazing story, number one, and number two, experience to go and do the thing, get there, score the touchdown, and experience that whole SEC, college football. Like, you feel the full essence of college football, I'm sure, in those stadiums that you played in the Swamp and everywhere in the SEC. You can really, that's college football for sure, epitomized.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're walking down like the Gator Hall of Fame, looking at some of these legends. You've got the statue of Tebow.
Right.
There's such, it's like, man, dude, where am I? It was like, we don't even, you're not even calling Florida State. Florida State is the team out west. The hatred.
Totally.
The hatred for them. So I mean, it was just that culture was just so alluring.
Yeah.
Of course, being nice and warm in Florida.
Right.
But honestly, scoring the touchdown and having a little bit of success my freshman year, to be honest with you, was the worst thing to happen. It was the best thing, but it was the worst thing. And it was something, as an 18, 19-year-old kid, it like inflated my ego and my pride. And it got to the, I couldn't at the time conceptualize the fact of being patient, waiting my turn, whether, my senior year was going to come around and I would be the starter, or it would be my junior year. I wanted it now. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to be on the sideline. I didn't want to be backing up, Jelani Jenkins or John Bostic. Looking back on it, what an honor it is to back those guys up. Those guys went on to be, players. Early round draft picks, go on and have great careers. Right. So that was something at that point, I feel like, and this is just my two bits to people, and obviously no regrets, it's all learning. I learned 100%. From it all. And it's funny now looking back on it, but be patient, trust the process, keep setting your goals, and your time will come. And I mean, that's kind of my take on it, not to sound like pessimistic.
Absolutely. No, I mean, it's an important take. I mean, and that's clearly how you figured that piece out. You learned from that experience, the patience piece of it, it would have been the worst thing in the world to, sit behind those amazing players, for a year, maybe not, but, this is life. That's how you learn. And then you made a decision. I mean, to transfer to UConn.
Yeah.
Right.
So workouts went great. Spring ball was going well, and actually during that time, I was playing both. I was going both ways.
Okay.
So I was playing H-back, tight end, and I was also the backup, middle linebacker.
Okay.
So anybody you could reference this. You want to talk about, first of all, just Gainesville is hot.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
But I would be running from doing linebacker Indy and then going over doing offensive Indy.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And
tough.
And
tough.
not only that, my playbook just doubled.
2 playbooks. Yeah.
Now I got 2 playbooks. I'm wearing 2 jerseys out to practice, one white, one blue. And in my head, right, we talk about the goal setting, for me, it was like, I wanted to be best linebacker of all time. That's what I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So like in my head, I was like, dude, I don't want to play fullback. You know what I mean? I want to play linebacker. And, they ultimately the spring game came. I played really well at fullback, played really well at H-back, did okay at linebacker. I think for me, I had such free reign in high school, right? It was just kind of like see ball, get ball. Like my football IQ, that was probably the weakest thing, looking at me was like, I had the tangibles and the attributes, but like, I didn't, even if I was supposed to do one thing on the play, I was like, no, I don't want to do that, So when it came down to it, I said, I want to play linebacker. And another thing too is, I wanted my family in the stands at every game. I want them to be there. I want them to enjoy this process because they're a part of this. Right. They're just as big as a part as I am in this.
Sure.
So ultimately, I came to the conclusion that after my freshman year, hey, I'm gonna transfer back up. I'm gonna go play at UConn. My family's gonna be in the stands at every game. I'm gonna play linebacker, and I'm going to try and bring that, winning tradition to Connecticut.
Yeah. And that, obviously that was, a big decision, and that is an important piece of it. Being able to have your family at all the games and everything. That's awesome. That's, that's something that, you'll remember forever, obviously. So you transferred to UConn and you were able to get a waiver, right? Because typically you have to sit out. Were you able to get a waiver?
No, I wasn't.
But you weren't.
I ended up not getting a waiver, and I ended up, I think it was like the last day of testing. We were doing like bench.
Yeah.
And I tore my whole pec major off the bone. And I remember it was a difficult, like I said, right? What did I struggle with? And even still to this day, like being patient and waiting. And, there was, hey, man, we're going to get this waiver. You'll be able to play right away. And then all of a sudden, the season's about to start, camp's about to start. We're finishing up workouts. I'm benching, weight is going up. And all of a sudden I just feel this pop. I thought like I dislocated my shoulder.
Damn.
And I remember like, I was like screaming on the bench. I'm like, oh my God, everything's out. And, and I remember, it was like 400 plus pounds just dropped right on me. Luckily, Ryan Worth pulled it off of me. And it was a very sobering car ride to, UConn Health, to the hospital with the trainer sitting there. I remember, I don't know who the athletic trainer was at the time, but, I'm sitting there, and for anybody, who doesn't, injuries or whatnot, when you tear your pec major, a complete tear of the tendon that, sits right up here, I think it's like your humeral socket or whatever, the whole muscle goes up here. So like you no longer have a pec. So I'm looking in the mirror and it's just, black and blue. I lost, and I got nice pecs, dude. I got nice pecs and I just lost one of them. So I'm sitting there, I got like ice on me. I'm sitting in the training room and, I remember we had this real nerdy trainer and he's like, wow. He's like, you might not ever be bikini ready again. And I'm like, I think this is going on YouTube, so I'm not going to sweat. I'm not gonna swear and say what I said, but I mean, that's like the last thing you want to hear. Yeah. So, right. So
you got one nice pack.
Yeah, I got one nice pick. So, I'm sitting there already bummed out, feeling, I have that chip on my shoulder because, hey, man, I transferred. And anybody who transfers, dude, it's hard to, you miss like that valuable time when everybody's learning everything. So right. Like being able to, make a lot of friends and do, just have like camaraderie. You're like kind of, you got a target on your back. Like, people are like, oh, this guy, who does this guy think he's better than us, like coming here or whatnot. So now I got to sit out. Yeah. Now I have a major injury that I'm told they don't know, like, if you tear it again, like you're probably not going to play anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in the van and I got like, silent tears coming down my eyes. And, I remember, got off the phone and I just said, well, this is day one to the comeback. I'll bounce back from this and I'll be better than I was before. I'll take this year to find out, exactly what I want to do. And it was the transition from Florida to UConn was not an easy one by any means.
Clearly. And I mean, that's a rough injury. Number one, for anybody listening, that is a rough injury. And, it sobered you up a little bit, but I think maybe looking back, you were able to refocus and get the vision of where you're, what you wanted to do. Right. And sometimes it takes hardship to along the way to be able to push you to your best. Right. And it's never going to be how you draw it up. I mean, you never would have thought that, you would have done that and transferred and then, tear your pec and then the whole deal. So, I mean, so you sit out that year. So that's your redshirt year, quote unquote.
Yes.
That's your redshirt year. And so you still have three years left. When you were able to get playing, Diaco came in, were your senior year or was it your junior year? How many years were you there with Diaco?
Diaco was my junior and my senior year.
Okay, so you were there for 2 years. Okay, so you get there or you start playing and you were only played for 1 year before, the head coaching change, I believe, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the trials and tribulations didn't stop with the pec tear.
Yeah.
So
obviously
it was a coaching carousel and whatnot. So, I ended up rehabbing, coming back from tearing my pec, I put everything into it, man. Mm-hmm. I whatever their expectation was, I was like, all right, well, let me cut that in half. And, they say I'm going to be back in 6 months. I want to be back in 3 months. That's just kind of my like psycho mentality. So everything goes well. End up, Paul Pasqualoni is the head coach at the time.
Yep.
And, my redshirt sophomore year starts and we play Towson. And, looking back on it, like the injuries and whatnot, I think football and those years of being a part of it, like if you can see like the subliminal messages in all of it, because, there's gonna be other setbacks in life. You know what I mean? It might not be a pec tear. You might lose your job. You might lose business somewhere. You might, slip. Yeah. And you got to realize that, hey, man, like there's nothing I can do. It happened. It is what it is. But what I can determine is how I'm going to refocus, restructure, and make a plan of attack to move forward. So Pasqualoni takes over. We end up, our first game was against Towson that year, which is a 1AA program. Yep. And throughout training camp, I ended up earning a starting spot as the Sam linebacker. Mm-hmm. We end up losing to Towson, like a Division I AA program.
Right.
And it's like
rough,
man. Like you don't want to be that Division I team that like you're supposed to like warm up. Like, hey man, we're paying these people to come play you.
Exactly.
So like you're supposed to beat up on them.
To punch in the face. To punch in the face for sure.
Yeah, instead they come into your backyard and take a piss on your mailbox. So, you know, that happens, and like that's a huge loss. You know, the morale is down with the team, and then we go in and we're playing against Maryland, right? So for people who don't know, like the old head coach of UConn, Randy Etzel's now at Maryland. So he's first time he's coming back in the rent, and you know, we lost against Towson, but like I showed good potential, man. I had a good game. I had 10 plus tackles, so I was I'm like, all right, I'm back on track. I'm good. You know, that year sucked, and I remember it was like second quarter against Maryland. I get chop blocked from the outside in, and my ankle sticks into the turf, and I just hear pop pop, and I go, oh my God, there's no way this just happened, and I ended up getting a high ankle sprain, and the pec was hard, but the high ankle sprain, like for anybody who's ever had one or knows what it's about, is a million times worse because there's no timetable on it, you know, and you lose, you know, your athletic ability to cut and move and run. And
it's frustrating, I'm sure. Yeah.
So that was super frustrating. And basically it was like, I miss a whole nother year goes down the toilet. Yeah. So, but you know, I remember looking at myself and being like, hey man, you've been through this before.
Let's do it again.
Let's run it back. Let's do it again. So yeah, and then we're edging closer to the Diaco.
So that's kind of when we get the new head coach, Coach Diaco, and that's kind of your first like fully healthy season then from all these injuries. Mm-hmm. So how was obviously the coaching carousel? We touched on this a little bit earlier. Having the not having stability at the coaching positions doesn't help anything, right? It's tough, and you have to constantly adjust, and you're earning people's trust. You're doing so many different things at once. How was that transition for you once Coach Diaco came in, and obviously you also became healthy at the same time? So how was that time for you?
I think it's scary, but it's also exciting whenever, right. Like, hey man, this is our new leader. Right. Our new president has been elected. As this young guy, man, he's got a lot of energy. Yeah, I mean, passion. His outfits, his swagger is through the roof.
Oh yeah, we'll throw some. Oh, I got to throw the pictures up. It's
yeah. And so it's an exciting time, but at the same time, I think it's tough for the universities, right? It's always a crapshoot, right? Yes. Especially nowadays. You just don't know, right? A guy, he might interview well, he might have all the right intentions, but he can't put the pieces together. Culture doesn't come together. You're not producing on the field, and if you're not a plus, you're a minus.
Right.
And so it was exciting, when Coach Diaco, Poindexter, these guys came in. Bayless came in as well as their strength and conditioning coach. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention, rest in peace to him, great man, Coach Jerry Martin, a super mentor of mine. I'm by all means, dude, I'm a workout warrior. Dude, I love lifting. I love training. And Jerry Martin, he saw the frustration and anger in me that I was prepping so hard to play and giving it my all, but like I couldn't play. I got the injury bug. I had it. It was looming over. I had a black cloud over me,
right, and
it was raining. But he took the time to, train me and work out and do one-on-ones. And he was almost like a therapist to me. And Coach Martin was a great linebacker at Syracuse. And he was a phenomenal strength and conditioning coach. You look back to the years UConn was a powerhouse in the Big East, he was their guy. And he's missed big time.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to give him.
Yeah, of course.
I feel like he's a guy who kind of gets overlooked sometimes, but he was just as crucial of a point of building Shankman and making that transition of that team. I mean, this is a guy who there's a story about him. He was running the stairs at Memorial, which the Memorial Stadium, which doesn't exist anymore. He's like midway through his workout and he's having a heart attack. And he finishes his workout and then drives himself to the hospital.
That's wild. That is crazy. Holy cow. That's special. That's special. Yeah.
He's a great guy, man. So so going on, it's exciting. You get new coaches. You get a little bit of hope. You're like, hey man, these guys, they got to figure it out. The training table's gonna have even better meals now. We got
exactly.
we have vitamins now that we're supposed to take on the wall. We're gonna get new uniforms. There's a lot of energy, but I think that energy needs to be placed in the right areas, right?
For sure.
So let's not focus on the antics or anything like that, right? Let's get back to, like we were talking about earlier, winning. You want these nice things, you want the accolades, you want all that, win. You want to be on TV.
Solves everything.
So so is everything. So I was a fan of Coach Diaco. For my 2 years when I was there, I saw progress. I saw the program begin to have progress.
Yeah, and so I mean, to give context, our first year was kind of like a full rebuild year. Like we were like retooling. Like they had just got there, and we had a rough year. I think we were 2-10 or something like that. Rough year. And then your senior year, we pieced it together, right? And you saw that progress, like the wins, actually more wins started coming, and we could have won even more games than we did. We ended up being 6-6 and making a bowl game, which we're not quite the University of Florida. We're not in bowl games every year. Like that was a big moment for us to get back to being in a bowl game I don't think we hadn't been there in 10 years or something like that. I mean,
God, a century. Who knows?
Yeah,
I think you want to be relevant,
right?
So, you don't want to be on, ESPN bashing you, or as a player, hopefully you take pride in the program you're a part of, and you don't want that either. So to see us go from, hey man, laughing stock, this or that, to a team that is beating ranked teams and now competing in a bowl game for the first time, that's important, because you want that to be the standard, right? So I was after college. We'll flash forward to something real quick, and we can bounce back. But after college, I went on and I was assistant director of strength and conditioning at Appalachian State, and winning the conference, going to a bowl game, like that wasn't fluff. That wasn't just like whisper locker talk. Like that was the standard. That was the expectation. Hey man, we're going to beat our conference rivals. We're going to win the conference. We're going to go to a bowl game, right? That was the standard.
Minimum, yeah.
Where, at UConn, it was kind of like, oh my God, like we're going to a bowl game?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's going to drink on to Disneyland? What? Yeah.
Oh my, we're going to get backpacks and walk on the sand and hold alligators? Like,
yeah, exactly. I'll throw the pictures up from the bowl game of us holding alligators. But you're right. It's tough to literally set that standard yourself, like build the bricks up to then be at this base level of this is a norm. This is a normal thing. Like this isn't a special feeling anymore. And it takes time to do that for sure. And for everyone listening, so I got there Diaco's first year. So that was Graham's redshirt junior year, that, he was fully healthy. And, I was, we had a ton of great coaches. I thought Coach Bayless, I was a fan of Coach Diaco too. I mean, he had so much passion and energy for the game and everything. And, say what you want about him, but he put his heart and soul into that for sure.
I always use this term, and I don't know if I don't know if people they're just oh yeah, cool, Graham. But I always refer to him as in Greek mythology, Icarus. He had the wings on his feet and he could fly, but he just got too close to the sun.
Yeah.
And it kind of burned him because, he was, for all intents and purposes, he's a defensive minded guy, right? You look at UConn, what has plagued UConn as a program? Offensive production. Right. You look at defense, I think I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure the defense was a top 25 ranked defense.
Who, ours?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Every year that Coach, I don't know if the last year for sure, but it was close. Every year that Coach Diaco was there, we had basically a top 25 defense. One of the years we were definitely pretty significantly in the top 25. We had really good defenses every year. So he brought that over from Notre Dame. Absolutely.
Yeah, with but we're just being real here with the worst offenses. You know what I mean?
We had a rough offense for sure.
And I think on ESPN had a stat. They're who's the only team on their first possession to turn the ball, not only turn the ball over, but turn it over and it turned into a touchdown, whether it was a fumble picked up so it wasn't even the defense letting up a score. It was, us shooting ourselves in the foot. And I think it was, I sympathize with the head coaches because they, it wasn't lack of effort. You look at Pasqualoni, right? And Coach Pasqualoni, great man, great coach, loyal person, right? He kept George DeLeon on the staff.
Right.
But if you were in the stands, you knew what play was coming. You knew it was about to be 26 power. You know what I mean? You could, they was almost they were telegraphing it. And I don't want to bash anybody or talk poorly, but
right.
That is, that's ultimately what kind of shot us kind of in the foot was that offensive.
For sure. And again, for context, I played offense, Graham played defense. And yeah, things never were able to click. I mean, it's tough when you're
talent was there.
We did
let me say that talent was there.
We for sure had talent. Scheme, fit, just things didn't click for some reason completely on offense. And we were in a lot of these games, low scoring games that, we should have won a lot more games, but we just got behind and then we put the defense in bad situations. And there's a lot of different things like that. But yeah, we had the talent. Things just didn't fully click. And it's, for everyone listening that's not involved in football, there's so many variables that's going on, especially when you're starting, you have to bring in a new coaching staff and everything to be able to get everything right. It is so difficult to get that right. And then, once you start changing things, then it's it's like trying to, put out your hair on fire and then, your shoe catches on fire, it's just a constant trying to set out fires everywhere. And, it never fully clicked but I mean, we did improve our second year, but it never got to that clicking moment whereas the defense, for example, you guys were a unit. You guys had studs. We had a lot of great talent on defense as well. Obviously, yourself and guys that now play in the NFL. I mean, there's a ton of studs on the defense, and you guys were a unit.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know if the emphasis was on defense.
Yeah.
There's a lot we can go.
Yeah,
we could
sure.
all day. We could sit here for 12 hours talking about this, talking about that.
For sure.
But it just wasn't. It was an early transition,
Yep.
and unfortunately, I think the university kind of like pulled the plug too quick on guys before they could get it settled.
Agreed.
Right?
100% agreed. And that is one of the issues also nowadays with college football. It's what have you done? What did you do for me right now? And you don't see the vision of what people are trying to build. It takes time to build the bricks to get to that base foundation of a bowl game being the standard and things like that. And it just doesn't allow, there's just so many variables to get everyone right the first try it's nearly impossible. It has been done, but it is so tough. So, if one thing goes wrong, we can't be burning down the entire house. It's tough, and it just makes it more difficult. And I don't think that. Yeah, there's just too many moving pieces so quickly, and at the end of the day, I don't think. I mean, I think they should have kept Coach Diaco. I mean, I think they fired him prematurely, personally.
Nick, there's so many things that go on behind the scenes that we're not even aware of.
Yeah, exactly.
And that he might have said, or this or that. So
there's a lot of there's a lot of guesses. I mean, yeah, exactly. We don't have the full picture. Nobody really has the full picture besides those specifically involved. So I mean, what you hear in the media, what you see this and that, no one knows. I mean, we only know so much as players. So, but I mean, the second year really, I mean, and that was your last senior year. So, I mean, you had a lot of success. You were making plays everywhere. I mean, I'll throw some of your tape up, but you were that dude. I mean, I'll just tell a little story from practice. I mean, I came in, eyes wide open. Like I'd never been around guys like you and got like such like talent and like physical prowess and this and that. So I was trying to earn my way. I didn't get that time to like earn people's trust and things like that. I hopped straight into training camp and it's like, all right, who the fuck is who the F is this guy? And then I see I'm tossed into one-on-ones and stuff, and I'm like, damn, Graham is like I was scared of you, to be honest. Not gonna lie. Like in a good way. Like it was like it was intimidating, but it's one of those like good intimidating. Like I just had so much respect, and I knew where your level of sharpness was and how your mentality was and your mindset, and how much work you had put in to get there. I mean, I recognized that, and it was special. And obviously, we became closer friends.
Friends, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe towards the end of your senior year, as I worked myself into being a part of the team and everything. But yeah, I mean,
and I think you need to give yourself more credit than like what you are right now, right? Because I think I do personify that like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde mentality, sure. Right? Yep. So like off the field, man, talk to me about whatever. I'm goofy, but like when we put those pads on and we put the cleats on, yeah, let's flip the switch, let's get it done. And for a guy like you who coming from Santa Barbara, played basketball, yeah. Hey man, I'm gonna go across the country and play Division I football against murderers.
Never played the position before. I didn't even grow up with football. Like
So there was always, I don't know if I never expressed it right. I think it did, but I mean, there's always a tremendous amount of respect. I mean, that takes some big cojones to do. You know what I mean? To drop everything and pursue the passion. And obviously you are, epitomizing that now with everything that you have branching out as far as business wise, jumping into podcasting. I mean, there's 4 million podcasts out there, right? And most people would be intimidated by that. That's something big to bite down on. But I think it's great, man. You just do it. You just start. Yeah. So there was always, everybody who was out, we need, a team needs everybody. at the end of the day, in order, there's got to be championship level effort from the person that opens the gate for the practice field to the head coach. And I think there was no shortage or lack of that, on that team, about people who are passionate about it. So, I appreciate the kind words you say about me. And, I look back on it, and there's just so many, you carry on great friendships, you meet great people, right? It's a tough thing to do. It's a tough thing to endure.
Yeah.
And, I carry on so many of those lessons, and, sometimes it's always good to, banter with people, because, so there's little details and things like you'll forget, and they'll bring it up and be like, oh yeah, man, that sucks.
I know, that's for sure. Right. I mean, I just had Alec Bloom on the last episode, and we were talking about in I think this 2015 or 16 spring, we had like
there was only two of you.
Literally two, and we were running 3 huddles, and we were running 12 personnel like most of the time. And like, talk about running. I mean, it's like, you running back and forth, like head chopped off, it's like,
and that's but I'm sure, like, dude, that you're gonna tell your grandkids about that. Yeah. And there's gonna be times when, like, things get difficult, things get hard, to be like, hey man, there's nothing like that blue or white game where I had 103 plays, and I had to block, it's not like the playbook's getting opened up there. So, like,
exactly.
You're running the same route, you're running seam routes, and then they're like, all right, come back and I'll block this guy who wants to, like, eat your face.
Exactly. Well, okay, so talking about guys that want to eat my face, I have a funny picture of us lined up against each other at the spring game, where it's like the end of the line shot, like down the line. I'm on the end, and then Graham's sitting there in his little stance on that.
Yeah, and I was a cheating bastard. Yeah, like, I knew the play.
You already knew.
I knew the signals that the offense was throwing over.
You already knew. But yeah, there's so much of that. But I mean, going back to your important points off of that. Yeah, I mean, you just can't be afraid to fail. I mean, I could have fallen on my face, but I mean, I wasn't afraid to fail, and that's in everything that you do. You just gotta jump in full bore, and at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, that it doesn't even matter. The outcome is the point of it. And it's interesting. Coach Diaco is, always said it was, about the process, not the end goal. But I mean, it's very true, especially in life too. I mean, you really can focus on a goal, but it actually doesn't matter if you get there or not, if you love and fall in love with what you're doing, right? And the day-to-day playing football, I mean, you lifting, I mean, that, like, you're gonna get to a billion different places success-wise. The goals are gonna come, and you're gonna reach those things, but you got to stay focused on it. And if you love that thing, then I mean, that's gonna come regardless. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's being disciplined. Yeah, and it's being disciplined. It's having that mental fortitude to just, go out there and, do the things that, like, hey man, like, I don't want to do this today. Yeah. I don't want to practice. I don't want to do whatever. I mean, for me, it was always such a release. It was almost like therapy, being able to go out there and, feel that, mental, physical, anguish. And then, hey man, like, well, tonight I got to go. Exactly. Tonight I gotta link up with Nick tonight, because I'm gonna fail this SAT class if I don't, like, sit down and have him explain.
I remember that.
So yeah, man. I mean, and to touch on Diaco, because I feel like he gets a bad rap. And
absolutely.
I almost feel like there's a reason why the Nick Sabans and the Bill Belichicks stay so little, right? In media, press. They don't open their mouth. They don't talk about anything.
Nope.
Because the media is going to be, at the end of the day, the media is going to be your enemy, dude. They're going to be your downfall. They're going to blow out of proportion the things you say. I think we discussed when you were down here in Miami, the people were like, I can't believe he's saying this about Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Flash forward, Nickelodeon's airing playoff games.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, wild, right?
And also, I remember, this is a good Diaco story. I had a class that we only had one grade on it for like the quarter or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I like missed the class where they did attendance, right? So like I had a 0. And so I had this huge like, first of all, we've only been in classes for like a week right now. And so I had this huge meeting with like the head of academics, like him. I don't even know. I think Ward Manuel might have been there. I'm walking in my sweats with my bag, and I'm like looking at this round table. I'm looking like the Justice League is looking back at me. And I'm like, am I about to get expelled from school? And so, I sit down. They're like, can you explain this? This is great. And I was like, nah, no. They're like, you want so badly to be a leader and have all these things. And then Diaco just starts chatting. He just starts saying, he's like, I'm thinking Cintas. I'm thinking Samsung. He's like, I'm thinking, Stryker. He starts naming these massive organizations. And I'm like, and at that time, I left that meeting, like, I have no idea what was just said to me. I have like, you want to talk about a guy warped, but now I look at it myself, right, as a 29-year-old professional, and like, hell yeah, man, I'm thinking those same things right now too. Like, I'm thinking about, I want to be a CFO. I want to be this, it's the game changes. It's not physical. Right. It's not anything like that. But if you want to be a leader, if you want to be successful, hey man, like, it is just literally comes down to just doing the little things it's doing the basics and the little things at a super high level every day, no matter you want to do it or you don't want to do it.
Right.
And that was something when I was in college, I was so tunnel vision on football that like, I didn't realize that if the other facets of my life were as well put together and the intensity level was at the same level as my football intensity level, well, guess what? That's going to make football, I'm going to be a better football player. The better I am in class, I'm going to be a better football player. So, that was a scenario that I'm thinking, and out of like, he didn't say anything. It was just like, Ellen or somebody talking, and they're like, can you explain this? And then like from you couldn't even see him. Like, the room had no lights. It's the room that looks over the Shankman practice field. I had never even been in it before.
I know, God.
And then like, just from out of the darkness, this guy comes up like the Undertaker, and he's like, I'm thinking Cintas. I'm thinking Exxon. Starts naming gas companies. I'm like,
that is good. Oh, that is a good memory. Holy cow.
And then it all, I didn't even say anything. I walked out of there, and I remember I was, in the first row 10 minutes early to every single one of my classes. And I mean, like, at that point, I think I had classes like, I had like a W course that was like on Disney princesses and stuff. So like, you got this 6'2", 240-pound linebacker sitting in Disney princesses. I got to write about, Pocahontas and being such a liberal school. God, man,
that is a good story. I mean, he had some ones like that. We had some team meetings where you never wanted to be a list player, right? Like, if you were on a list, it was always a bad thing, right? That's what the saying was. If your name is on a list that they have and they're about to read, you bet you're shaking in your boots. And some people had basketfuls of Fs. There was a lot of different
characters.
People were, or he wasn't afraid to keep people accountable by letting them know it.
One of the other good ones. Yeah. If we can
go off on it. Yeah, we're good.
I'm not going to name the player.
Yeah.
But you knew there were guys who, I mean, it didn't matter. It didn't matter if they were, they rose from the dead, or they turned water into wine or rocks into bread. Like, they were dead in the water. You know what I mean? They were not a part. Hey man, I can see them right now sitting in the meeting saying, we don't want this guy part of the program. We don't want this guy part of the program. And I remember there was a meeting where a player was, let's say he was compared to a chair, one of the rolling chairs. And they're like, you want to know what you look like in this game? And they just took the chair and we're just like tossing it around. And he's like, this is you, throwing it on the ground, throwing the chair on the ground. And like you wanted to laugh, but at the same time you were like, oh God, man.
Yeah. Like, let's hope that's never me. Yeah.
Oh, well, I remember, you know what? We're talking about jarring memories. When Diaco first got here, we all had to have like one-on-one sit-down meetings. And I remember I sat down with him and he's just like looking at me and he's like going through his papers. He's just like looking at me. He's like, well, Graham, and he's always like, the more I look back on it, dude, just a consummate businessman. Like it's so, sure. And especially as like being a kid from like a super Italian town and I just respected it so much. And he was a great player. And, I remember he looked at me and he's like, the old staff, before they left said that you were probably one of the guys we were going to need to get rid of. He's like, but I'll tell you what, he's like, you've been quite the surprise. He's like, I like you. I like you a lot. And I was like, all right, thank you. He's like, all right. And that's like the end of the meeting. So
that's good.
I'm glad he gave me the second chance because, I was, those were like 2 pretty dark years, like sitting out because of the injury and then, having the ankle sprain and like, being told, oh, well, you missed, if you missed something, you had like a 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And I remember Tim, I'm not gonna say names, but I remember the head of ops, texted me, oh, you got another 5 a.m. And I was just like, hey man, I'm in a boot and I can't walk and it's winter.
Yeah.
Why rough. You want me to wake up at 5 a.m. and just stand, so, God.
The 5 a.m. Okay. So, again, for context, we had super early lifts and, in Connecticut, winter.
These were punishments, by the way. This is Nick, this is before your time, but they were called, I don't know if they were called sixes or what they were called, but like, basically you would get them and you'd have to like show up at 5 a.m. and I see the full circle of it, right? Because then I eventually become a strength coach. And I'll tell you what, I didn't want anybody to have 5 a.m.s because that means I have to get up an hour early and go to the field and blow a whistle and watch you pencil roll and then pencil roll back. It's like or do like a lame dog.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of those. I was not a good guy.
So I mean, those are fond memories. That is good. All right, so let's transition here a little bit. So your senior year, again, you have a pretty a very good senior year. Again, we go to a bowl game, the whole deal. So you're looking at next steps afterwards, right? So you have pro day, different things, trying to make the leap to jump to the NFL. Take us through that experience a little bit for you, and eventually going to try out for, I think, the Giants, was it?
Yeah. So for me, I feel like I had a probably better junior year than a senior year, but
they're both good. They were both.
I feel like I just, whatever. Good production. Yep. A lot of TFLs, like a lot of like, big plays.
Big plays.
And it was a tough, in my opinion, being, like a constant team player, I allowed myself to play a position that really didn't showcase everything I could bring to the table, right? So we ran that 3-4 defense, right? Yep. So, but in reality, that defense was more of a 4-2-5, meaning, 4 D linemen, 2 linebackers, and then DBs. 5 D backs. And I'm including myself as like a defensive back because most of the time played out of the box, was in a constant run pass conflict.
Yep.
If number 2 ran, a 9 down the field, I'm supposed to carry him, but at the same time, I'm supposed to force the play. So basically, the field side corner, the field safety, and me, the linebacker, you got 3 guys defending, was the football field, 53 and a half yards. Yep. So basically we're defending, 30 plus yards, and it's just 3 guys. And we had some terrific, luckily we had terrific safeties in Opie.
Yep.
And Andrew, you had Byron at corner, you had Javon out there at corner, Jamar. And so I knew the position I was playing I think I was one of the only guys who had the tangible traits to play it, right? The size, the speed, and it was a lot of responsibilities. And from other people that I've heard, I know the defense changed a little bit because it was just like, hey man, this position's got too many responsibilities.
Well, that's yeah. I mean, and I guess I think he potentially put you in it because he, thought you could take on that many responsibilities.
Yeah, and I accept the challenge and I respect it, but like in the back of my head, like I would sit down with Coach Brown, and Coach Brown would be like, yeah, man, in my eyes, you're more of like a Mike linebacker, but we'll put you out there. And I don't want to look back on regrets, but it was a tough position to play, and this all makes sense because going into it and being somebody who understands football and force myself to get a better IQ at it, I knew that to scouts and the teams, it was going to be an interesting fit. How is this guy, how is he gonna, because that position doesn't like exist in the league,
right?
So in my eyes, I knew I was going to need to have a really good, solid pro day, right? So I needed to have a solid, good pro day, but I wanted to finish up my degree. So I stayed on campus. I had a couple classes I needed to finish up, trained super hard with Coach Bayless. And like, that was one thing, dude. Like I almost sometimes feel like I enjoyed training more than I did playing the game.
I love Coach Bayless.
Yeah. And so, before the draft starts and everything like that, you get phone calls from different teams. And, most of the teams will reach out, see how you're doing, just kind of like a brief little talk, see if this guy can formulate sentences and tie his shoes.
Basically.
And so, I had some good conversations with some guys and I was feeling good. I wasn't expecting to get drafted, but I was definitely expecting to be one of those guys who, got his opportunity, played special teams, and, that was, my expectation.
Yep.
So pro day comes along. It's going well. I jump well, do all that. Now, the money maker, hey man, I gotta run a 40.
Yeah.
And so, I wasn't like insanely fast, but I put myself up there as being a pretty fast guy.
Yeah.
And I remember, I take off on my first 40, good start, good everything. And I'm like 20 yards in and boom, so it's been a sniper up in the rafters and my hamstring pops.
Oh.
And, it's like the biggest, I think it was like my first job interview, but, probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
And I just go, oh my God, no way, no way this happened. Because, looking back on it, it's funny. Everything happens for a reason. Right. Who knows? Maybe it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
So end up pulling my hamstring. Can't compete for the rest of the day. Can't really, you're dead, at that point, unless you were like an All-American or something like that. Then they understand. And, but, I put some ice, cheered the guys on and, got into my, minivan that had no back seats at the time and drove myself home and probably had 1 or 2 beverages and just kind of said, well, we had a good run, End up trying to rehab it real quick and get better and ready. And I ended up going to Yale's pro day.
Okay. So you went to another one. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just wanted to show like I could run and I could move. And that goes really well. and hamstring was every, you got to think about it. Like, you don't talk about paranoia. I'm like, every time I'm running, I'm like, all right, when's this thing gonna go on me? So that goes really well. Get a couple more calls and whatnot. Draft process goes on. I after the UConn pro day, I actually fired my agent. I was just like, whatever, man, this guy, thanks, whatever, buddy, and after the draft concludes, all of a sudden, that's when your phone will ring, right? Yeah. So, an hour goes by. I'm like, I'm looking at the people who are being taken, and then, like, especially in the 7th round, I'm like, I'm better than this guy. I gotta be the number 1 undrafted free agent pick. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm a bargain. I'm a bargain buy. I'm a dollar store linebacker right now. If you could give me, hey man, just make sure I can have like a 401k, some health insurance, free meals. I'll sleep in my locker, dude. I love football. I love it. Like, just give me a chance. Yeah. So I end up getting 3 calls. I get one from the Chargers, one from the Vikings, and one from the Giants. I end up choosing the Giants. At the time, one of my high school teammates was on the team. So I'm like, hey man, Bill McGovern was the linebacker coach with the Giants at the time. Yeah. And I get there and instantly I go, oh God, not this again. Cause I look at my jersey and my jersey says 88. And I go, oh, I know what this means. So I get to rookie, OTA mini camp, and I'm playing offense and defense.
Oh my God, dude. No way. What the heck?
And so, but we should have, if we go back to like the St. Pete Marshall game, or even the prep for that bowl game, I think we all should have known, like, hey man, I think Graham should have just played offense.
Yeah, I know.
Because I think against Marshall, I went in and blocked the Ron Johnson. We scored a touchdown. Yeah. And I mean, I wish I had footage of it, but there was a couple like passing plays to me, and they were Sports Center top 10 catches. I don't think there was a ball I dropped. Like they're like, I wish we had the practice film of them, because they were like, I think even Verducci was like replaying it, showing the receivers. He's like, guys, this is how you're supposed to look the ball in. So
no, we watched it in our room for sure. Verducci was playing it in our room for sure.
And it was, but in high school, I was a tight end. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And to be honest with you, I couldn't, give myself a pat on the back, but like, dude, I couldn't tell you there was a time I ever dropped the ball, and literally that was thrown. But that is the position for a high effort, kind of athletic white guy. He plays, fullback or tight end, and he's going to play a special team. You know what I mean? That's the go-to position. And the writing was on the wall the whole time. So what ends up happening is, once the conclusion of like the little rookie OTA camp ends, like you can either sign a contract. You either sign a contract and they pull you in, or they don't. So I ended up being the 11th linebacker on the depth chart, and then like boom, a bump to like the 12th, and wasn't my didn't work out, and whatever, man. That's like 99% of the guys. Yeah.
You had your shot at least, right? I mean, you did the thing, you went there. That must have been like a cool experience, right? I mean, I get that you think about it. I mean, ever since you were a kid playing football, right? It's like, all right, I mean, I want to play in the NFL, right? And then you get there and you're practicing. Like, what was a couple things that like stood out to you? Was there one thing that stood out to you? What, maybe it's like practice was way different than you thought, or the way the guys was way different? I mean, I'm just curious.
So everybody's a stud.
Yeah, obviously.
It's not like a question of, hey, can this guy run? Hey, can this guy jump? Hey, can this guy change directions? Like, yes. No, everybody can do that. Yes. Everybody can do that at a high level. And everybody, it's like going from high school to college. I mean, you were the stud in high school.
Everyone's the stud in high school. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, you're a stud in college. Well, now like, this is professional.
Yeah.
So as you and it's just like everything, man, as you progress through the ranks, the learning curve and period gets shortened.
For sure. Yeah.
And your amount of opportunities get shortened, right? So say you're in college, you're your first string guy, you're going to get 6 reps, right? Let's say out of those 6 reps, you only mess up on 2, right? So your percentage of good reps is still, you're 75%. I don't want to butcher my math right now. 66%, you're good, whatever, right? That's, whatever. Yeah. I wasn't a math.
Yeah.
So when you get to like a rookie OTA, rookie training camp, and you're a guy who's like kind of like a tweener guy, hey man, you get 2 reps. You got 2 reps right now.
I know.
So if you mess up on one of them, you're already at 50%. And everything is analytical, right?
Yeah.
There's all these data-driven points that point teams to doing things a certain way, right? There's a reason why they measure your arm length. They found that guys who have this percentage, this arm length, more often than not are able to get off blocks at this kind of percent. There's millions upon millions of dollars at stake.
Yeah.
So they're paying attention to it all.
Right.
And so looking at the Giants defense at the time, it was a 3-4 defense. And in the NFL, your 2 inside linebackers, and I went from a guy who, I was almost like a tweener hybrid safety out there for UConn.
Yeah.
And now I'm calling the huddles and I'm calling the plays.
Yeah.
People are always like, oh man, like you're a big dude. I'm like, you guys have no idea how big these people really are. Because I'm over there calling the huddle and I'm looking up at all these monsters around me. And, I went balls to the wall, ran as hard as I could, made a couple plays here and there. But at the end of the day, if you have, 3-4 defense, your inside, Mike and Will ideally are going to be 6'3", 250.
Yeah.
I'm like 6'2", 227 on a good day, So I'm not, in their mind, I'm not going to be able to, cement that, B gap or, come down and do that. And, and that was fine. So I think the biggest, this is like a long-winded answer, but the biggest takeaway from it all is that the opportunities that you do get and that do present themselves to you, you have to be perfect because you're not going to get that many opportunities. Life's not fair.
That absolutely right.
So the guy they drafted in the 3rd round is going to have more opportunities than you as the guy who literally has no money riding on him. Like,
correct.
They have to make right on this investment. So they're going to give him the benefit of the doubt. They're going to give him more reps.
So I'll also compare this to college a little bit because that's how I kind of felt when I was there. Cause I came in, I had no money invested in me. No one cared, right? Like they could care less if I showed up or not, So, it's like, you get the 2 rep.
Cared, Nick.
Well, okay.
I
cared. But it's like the 2 rep thing, and then bottle for those listening. It's the 2 rep thing that you're saying. Okay, well you're only going to get 1 rep, and like you better not fuck it up. I mean, like, and you don't have money invested into you, so it's like, right. I mean, it's you're completely right in that sense of it, and I can totally feel that too because I've felt that same thing. So you don't get a fair shake or the same opportunity, I guess, but because you have to be perfect.
And it's not like somebody's on the sideline either, like correcting you.
Right. Oh,
like it's not you're not. It's on to the next.
It's on you.
Man, it's on to the next. And you know what? I think this is a good thing as well, right? It's like, if you do a good job and you do what you're supposed to do, like, don't expect any praise.
Right.
You know, like you're being paid to do this,
Next
so
play.
do it. Yeah, so do it. You know, and there's no room to. There's there's very there's less and less and less time, right? You have all the time in the world as a peewee out there, you know, when you're playing midgets and like, you know, your dad's out there talking to you about dinner and okay, on this play, you know, and he can like yell to you exactly what to do. Then, you know,
Right.
high school,
Right.
you know, you got your buddies, and then college, it's like, all right, well, you know, the assistant coach will go over with you on the sideline. And then it's like the NFL, it's like, hey man, like we went over this for 27 seconds, but you should have memorized it like the back of your hand.
Yeah, and you should have or went over it for 3 hours and figured out all the nuances that we didn't go over about it, and
Yeah.
and all that different stuff. Yeah, so I mean, you know, I obviously
That's
it didn't
being
have,
a professional.
yeah, it's being a professional, right? And I guess the quick example of taking advantage of his limited opportunities, Tim Boyle, right? I mean,
Yeah.
talk about someone that, you know, if he didn't perform in the league, he wouldn't still be in the league, right? So he shows up, no one expects him to do anything, and you know, he performed, and he you know, played well, and that he took advantage of his opportunity. And so I mean, and he's still, you know, in the league to this day, you know. So I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
and you know, it's special.
It is. It's super special. And you know what? You know, we never, unfortunately, you know, I think he was a casualty of the UConn carousel,
For sure.
of them feeling so stressed and wanting to keep their jobs and
Yep.
being like, oh, you know, we're gonna throw this guy into the wolves.
Yep.
And like anybody who had two eyeballs, maybe one eyeball, or maybe just a sense of smell and taste, you knew like this guy's talented, man. This guy is the prototypical NFL quarterback, and he's not being nurtured and protected the way he should be, you know? And, you know,
Exactly.
some guys maybe, yeah. Yeah, some
Exactly
guys you
right.
can throw them into the fire and then they can be resilient to it. But at a position, and that's at other positions.
Yep.
At that position, at the quarterback position,
Yep.
it's got to be groomed. You've got to be cultivated.
Yeah.
It's the most important. It is by far the most important position, especially in college football. If your team will go as far as your quarterback's ability.
Absolutely. And you're right. The carousel, these different things, you know, I mean, he didn't come to a scout team and, you know, block it, you know, behind a line that, you know, isn't ideal, and then, you know, throw it to me, you know. So
right.
I was the good part of it.
I think it's more. I think the blocking is more of the issue, right?
Because, right. Oh, for sure. You're right. Absolutely.
Pick up. If he's not getting, you know, proper blocking, if he's not getting that, he's gonna pick up habits that he shouldn't even have to pick up.
Right.
You know,
right.
His work. You know, his thought process should be, hey man, I'm gonna go down the line of my reads. It shouldn't be the first thing he's thinking about is like, all right, what's his name's about?
Oh yeah, I got 1.5 seconds. I'm gonna, yeah, like exactly.
Brett Favre couldn't have thrived in that situation.
Exactly. It was again. When you're put in impossible situations, you're expected to just like, you know, grow superhuman muscles, and then, you know, grow, you know, be a 10-foot tall dude that no one can touch, and just, you know, I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, but, you know, as the point of that is, you know, when he did get a fair shake opportunity, you know, he performed, and you know, kudos to him, and, you know, he's a testament to, you know, keep your head, you know, down, keep working, you know, regardless of what's going on around you. You know, so much change, adversity, this and that. You know, you can get through it if you really want to.
Yeah, this is the ultimate display of resiliency.
For sure, 100%. So this is great. By the way, for everyone listening, watching, this is going to be our longest episode. So, no, this is great. So I just appreciate that you're still watching and listening. This is a great conversation. So we're going to keep it going. We got a few more things to cover. So after the NFL, I mean, you hung it up right after that, you know, with the Giants.
Yeah, kind of. I didn't even unpack. It was like Dude, I had this car, this Mazda Protege I didn't even unpack, and ended up moving to Boone, North Carolina. And when I was down in Boone, North Carolina, I worked as like a FedEx courier, and then at the same time, I would drive out to Atlanta and I would do workouts for the CFL. And I ended up, getting proposed an opportunity with the Ottawa Red Blacks. But like, I think I was making the same amount of money working for FedEx. And, at the time, I'm in a relationship, I'm doing all this. And I was like, you know what, I'm all set. I'm going to hang it up. And it's crazy to me. There's like, people will see like working out or doing things. They're like, you still going to play football? I'm like, no, dude. Like, absolutely not. Like, like I'm not glad it's over, but like, hey man, everything is a chapter in your life.
And you enjoyed the journey. I mean, there's ups and downs and everything, but you enjoyed the hell out of it.
Oh my God, dude. I loved every second of it. And the biggest takeaways for me, people will remember like certain plays, certain things, but like, my whole family being together, I have, a pretty big family, and lost my brother about a year ago, and the memories I have of them being all together in the same spot, joined, cheering me on, seeing the pictures of them like smiling, that is worth everything in the world to me. Like 100%. I'm forever so grateful to the University of Connecticut and to my family being there and supporting me and having them together. That's my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, and that's special. So I mean, this is a perfect segue because I like to call the segment the big questions, but your family's influence on your success, right? Obviously they were a big part of your life, and you just said how important those memories and them being there for you was. How important do you think their influence was on you reaching the high levels of success in the sports world that you did?
And everything. I couldn't have done it without them. I have a super tough mom, and if you got a tough mom, kid's gonna be tough. I had a father who instilled in me setting goals, envisioning. They were my biggest fans, and I could do no wrong. You know what I mean? And it was, hey man, like, I want to do this. All right, we fully support it. Hey, we'll drive you out to the University of Wisconsin. We'll drive you out to the University of Maryland so you can go check it out. And when you're living through it and you're experiencing it, and as I get older and I think about having kids and a family, what an experience for them. Just as much as it's an experience for you, like for them to come, go, and like I used to be like, I'd be like, don't wear my jersey.
Yeah, I know.
Like get a little embarrassed. And then like looking back on it, it was, it meant so much to them, which made it mean even more to me. You know what I mean? Like I'm strapping it up today and my mom's in the stands. Yeah. Nobody's embarrassing me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Then there's a special photo of you guys on senior day. I'll toss that up on screen. I'm sure it came full circle, eventually once, things started to click, the bowl game, your senior year, senior day, you're able to spend those moments with your family. And that's what you worked so many years for, right?
Yeah. I think one of my last text messages I ever got from my brother, it was, I have it saved in my phone, but it was, hey homie, like, some of my favorite experiences were driving to come watch you play on Thanksgiving. And just knowing that, like, dude, it meant so much to them, so it's a special, sports, athletics, it doesn't matter what sport you're playing or what endeavor you're going through, it's tough to do it alone. It takes a village. And so I'm blessed and lucky to have had the ultimate support staff My two sisters, my brother, my mom, and my dad, they were ride or die, and I love them for it.
Amazing. And your brother's obviously still with you, spiritually and everything. So I'm sorry about that, man. I mean, it's a tough, it's a tough thing to have happen. But
and I remember, it wasn't your father passed away.
My father passed too. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because it comes in waves, right?
Yep.
Anybody experiencing loss or issues, it comes in waves. But the biggest thing you think about is like, hey man, like I just hope they know how much I love them, no matter what, no matter
regardless of all the tribulations, whatever it was.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, yeah, and they were there for you in good times and bad, and same vice versa and everything. And your life, when something like that happens, regardless, and your life changes, but it just becomes different. It's just different, and it's a tough thing to go through. I guess eventually, people don't live forever. Everyone has their day eventually, I guess. So there's but every day it's appreciating the days that you wake up and you didn't get a phone call, right? And everyone in your circle is good and accounted for, and they're doing what they love to do, and you're around them, and that's a great day, right? Every day that you have not that happen, right?
Yeah. So no, exactly. Life. I think Mike Tyson has a quote, right? Is that life's about losing.
Yeah.
You're gonna lose in love. You're gonna lose your family members. You're gonna lose whatever. It's about how you keep going.
Right. That's a great quote. Okay, so I asked this to everybody. This is the Teammates podcast. So you're what does being a good teammate mean to you?
Oh gosh, what does being a good teammate mean to me?
Well, I mean, I'll preface it by saying,
what you go ahead. Let me hear what your opinion is on it.
Well, I think as the ultimate teammate, and again, this is how we translate it. A teammate can be a spouse, it can be a family member, many different things, or specifically on the football field, like we were on, and teammates. Being there for each other, regardless of what's going on. I mean, whether I had selfish ambitions of, wanting to get X many snaps or play or do whatever, or get to this goal. Aside from that, being able to make sacrifices and be there for those people, regardless, even if it's a detriment to a short term or whatever detriment to what you want to do, right? And I think it's important to be there for everyone as people, as well. I know it's not just like football, or in the football sense, it's football, but realizing there's a person there too, understanding who they are, and just being a good person as well. There's a lot of different facets to it, and it's an interesting question because everyone has a different answer, because everyone's experienced different things, and everyone sees it differently, and it's just important to be a good teammate regardless. I think. I mean, that's something that I always try to be. If I was the worst person if I wasn't the worst person on that team, at least people would never say I wasn't a great teammate, and I was there for everyone else. I celebrated everyone else's successes like they were my own, and you do the hard things that people don't see, and the dirty work, and you don't get credit for it, but it doesn't matter. So there's so many nuances of that, but that's kind of a long-winded answer. So but yeah, I don't know. It's super nuanced. So I mean,
Yeah.
You know, I could go on for days about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I'm probably going to say similar things to you, maybe just a little bit shorter, but I think there's, 2 or 3 principles that go into being the ultimate teammate, whether it's on the field, on the court. You're going to have business partners. Like you said, you're going to have spouses, you're going to have relationships. And number one is there's no doubt, right? If you're the ultimate teammate or you're the ultimate partner, like, you're not something I have to worry about or think about. We have that trust and we have that common goal that we're going to work towards. And in my mind, I never have to doubt your effort, right? I never have to doubt whether you're going to do your job. I never going to have to doubt that you're going to be there for me. You're the ultimate teammate, man.
Yep.
And, number 2 is they bring you up, right? I don't want somebody that's equal to me. I want somebody that when I look at them, I think, shit, man, I got to do better. I got to be better. And number 3, like what you said, my victories are your victories. There's no selfishness. There's no, being bitter about things. If I'm achieving things, then like you're taking it, it's equal, man. This is an equal partnership. Both of us are achieving things. So yeah, the ultimate teammate is somebody you don't need to doubt. They bring you up, and your achievements are their achievements, and you celebrate together.
Yeah, I mean, agreed. Those are super strong principles, and regardless of the success or different adversity that we went through at UConn, I really think that we had, looking back at it, we had a lot of people that loved each other and that were really there for each other. Like, I mean, I wasn't in the, defensive room, but I think just in general, like every time I saw you smack some guy and change his life because he's never going to be the same because the hit was so hard, I felt like I did it, and, and, that's a special thing. And, I think it's not something to gloss over. I think it was we had a special connection as a team, I think, for sure.
Yeah, and you've got to, because some people, maybe they stay in touch with their coaches. I mean, we came from a foster home where we had 6 different parents, and didn't know who to call mommy, didn't know who to call daddy, but we all went through it together. At the end of the day, we were the constant, right? It wasn't, the coaches weren't constant. The fan base wasn't constant, but the thing that was constant was the faces that you see in the locker room. And I think that's, you got to hug, I heard this not too long ago at a seminar, but like, hug the people who are close to you, hold on tight to those people. It's tempting to want to reach out and go other places, but, hug those that are close.
Absolutely. Well said. Well, that great answer. So thank you for that. So we're going to hop into a Q&A. So you ready? You good?
Yeah, man, I'm always ready.
I was born ready. All right. Favorite sport and why? We're going to do aside from football.
Easy. Synchronized swimming. It's just something that I've been super passionate about, and I think it takes a lot of guts. Next.
Are you dead? I thought you were joking.
Next question.
Okay.
No. Favorite sport? God. Football. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, you're a football guy through and through. I know that.
Yeah. Through and through. Yeah. I mean, in person, like when I was at App State, dude, I love to go into the wrestling matches.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's always exciting. It's not as like on TV. It's not as cool, but
yeah. And I mean, lift. I mean, he's a huge lifter now too. So I mean, he's about bodybuilding. That stuff is interesting to watch too. I mean,
yeah, man.
Well, yeah.
Is that a question or
no? Go no. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just
throwing it out there. Man, I just. Go ahead.
All right. We'll keep it going. We'll keep going. We'll keep going on questions. Favorite player growing up that made you want to play or influence you football?
Sean Taylor.
Okay, that's a good one.
Just a freak, man.
Yeah.
Just an absolute specimen, taken way too early.
Yeah.
You know, I would sit in woodshop class and watch his highlights. And there was like the music, like at the time, you know, it was like Bad to the Bone was like the music to it. And I was like, you know, I would watch that, but dude, I loved Sean Taylor. And I was a huge Miami fan at that time as well. So yeah, Sean Taylor.
That's great. And you definitely play like him for sure. Okay.
He's way better.
Debatable. All right. Favorite stadium you've played in? And you've played in a lot of cool stadiums, I'm sure, especially with the SEC ones. So this will be a good answer.
Favorite
It could be a couple.
stadium.
It could be or like two your coolest experiences. Does whatever you think, whatever stands out.
I think, man, stadiums, it's always like attached to memories, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it definitely, I think playing in Yankee Stadium
that was cool.
Was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
Special.
I mean, God, dude. I mean, playing in Jacksonville in the Jaguar Stadium was great. You know, because a lot of it's correlated to memories and whatnot. You know, playing in the Rent, you know, especially when we beat Houston, that was great.
I mean, what about the Swamp?
Swamp was great.
Yeah.
Swamp was a great place. Super loud, super fun.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all good, but I mean, you know, when you're on that field and you're playing, like nothing else exists.
Oh yeah,
you know?
no, exactly. Yeah, it's like you're in a dark room somewhere. Yeah.
I mean, you know, some places will like the visiting locker room will be like painted pink or something weird like that. But you know, we'll be like, oh, you know what? Actually, Tulane had the best bathrooms. You know, so like,
yeah, we'll get a list by amenities. Yeah.
You know, Auburn had a great stadium. Right. Also because I got a beer poured on me when I was going through the well, you know, remember little things like that. But I mean,
that is funny.
They were all great.
Yeah, that's a great answer. You've played in a lot of cool places, which you know, that's awesome. Okay, so favorite TV show, movie that you've seen recently?
Oh man,
something.
God.
Or what are you watching?
It's gonna expose how much of a loser I am. I mean, a lot of people debated it, but I thought the last Batman that came out, I thought that was like a theatrical masterpiece.
Yeah,
the way they filmed it and they did everything.
Yeah,
I thought Robert Pattinson was. I mean, he beat the piss out of the bad guys.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah. So I know we talked about this a little bit. Also, I was just down in Graham's area, so we hung out, got a lift in. I'll toss the picture from the gym up so you guys can see. A great time, but we did. Yeah, I remember we talked about that a little bit, and I agree. It is. I mean, it's a little bit different than the other ones because it's not the same actor, but they did a great job for sure.
Like, yeah, I mean, in a world where everything is like, let's face it, dude, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like they could put out a movie about pandas with superpowers, and people would be breaking down the walls to go and watch it.
I know.
But I like that. I like the dark take on it. Of course, like standard shows like Stranger Things and stuff like that. Like
that was masterpiece.
I'll watch those.
Yeah, totally. Sweet. Okay, favorite hobby, and I'm gonna guess this is lifting, or is it something? Is it something?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite hobby, I think you want to be like addicted to good things, right?
Yep.
So like as long as your addictions are good. So it's not crystal meth if everybody was thinking that. It's it's training. And for me, like I really, I get, a lot of people always say, oh, hey man, you're gonna compete, you're gonna do bodybuilding, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. And for me, it's like, No, man, it's just like it's something I do. It's something I've always enjoyed since
Yeah.
I was, a little kid. I used to have a deck of cards, and I would just go through the deck of cards and do push-ups, and then it evolved into something else. And then, I think there was like a period I went through where it was like all I did was yoga, and I just did like hot yoga, and I was like, oh, this is good. And then, I think it's a shame for anybody to go through life and not push this. You get this one vehicle, right? Push it to the max, man.
Yeah.
See what it can do. And it's even like recently I've gotten into like we were talking about it before. Like I'm not an endurance athlete. Like I'm type 2 muscle fibers all the way through my body. But I just woke up one morning and I was like, hey man, I'm gonna go to the track and I'm gonna see how many miles I can run in an hour. Now it wasn't a lot, but afterwards, like I felt good, man. And I think it feels good to do stuff you're a beginner in or that you suck at, and I think it's awesome. Like I always was just fascinated with, first of all, I was fascinated with training because I always correlated that to me being a better athlete, right? So like that's why even I went to school or I would study like, all right, man, how can I get stronger? How can I get faster? What exercises, anatomy, all that kind of stuff played a part. And the progression for me and just how you have to say consistency, you just have to be disciplined. And then that it factors into other things, like, all right, well, what am I eating? Like when I was at UConn, I was I opted out of having a meal plan because I didn't want to go to I don't even remember the names of the dining halls because I didn't go, but like I didn't want to go and have a Thanksgiving Day meal every day. What am I going to eat? Yeah. Pizza stuffing, and turkey with gravy
every day.
Who loved Thanksgiving that much that literally that was your option every day? So I opted out of that, and that's I became huge into nutrition. Like, hey man, it's all right. So the training's important, but guess what? Like what I'm putting in my body is even more important. So, that's, training, health, all those things that's my favorite hobby. That's like my release. That's my escape from everything. And it helps, working in medical device and understanding how the body works, understanding how the back works, understanding, the spine, like everything plays a role. So that is, being a meathead is my favorite hobby.
Okay, so for some context, that's a great answer, by the way. For some context, this is one of the strongest guys I've ever seen. Like no, seriously. I mean, he's strong. I mean, you've been lifting a long time, so I mean, it's no mistake that you're as strong as you are. I didn't touch a weight until my senior year or junior year in high school. So I mean,
I was power cleaning 16 seconds out of the womb. I mean, they had a barbell.
That's right. Yeah, it brings you out, and they got the bar. So I mean, so strong. I mean, he can squat 1 billion pounds, and he knows how to do it the right way. Again, nutrition is more important than the training aspect of it, which is often overlooked. People think training is 100% of it, or 90, but it's really the opposite. And so, yeah, I think it's interesting. I love training too. Obviously with football comes a lot of training, playing a sport at a high level, training comes along with that. It's kind of handcuffed to that. And that's kind of how I started to fall in love with that as well was when, I got to UConn and, you're kind of forced to like it because you do it so much. It's like, if I hit my head with a nail so many times, eventually I'll just be like, I'm good with I actually kind of like this, right? It's some
dopamine will be released eventually.
Exactly. I'm like, you know what? I'm ready for that hammer now. But yeah. So I mean, and then the running piece of it, obviously again, we're not endurance athletes, and I mean, I talked to Tommy too. I started running half marathons and doing the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing, and challenging your body, and I think the comparison was you're literally putting yourself in adversity and getting through it. right? It's like a tangible thing. Like you push yourself, you come out on the other end of it, and then you do it again.
Because I feel like everybody, unless they don't experience it, we all have these competitive backgrounds, right? Fortunately, like in my career path, it's competitive, but it's not the same level of competitive, if you know what I mean. Like,
yep.
At the end of the day, man, it feels good to sweat. It feels good, the effort that you put into it feels good. Yep. And man, dude, I don't want to sound like, I'm probably gonna hit the gym again right now.
We're going right after this. Let's go.
Hit some push-ups right now. But yeah, man,
that's awesome.
It's like a constant journey, a constant pursuit of like, I was talking to Hicks today. John Hicks.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, are you running gassers at the track? I was like, not barefoot in these white grandpa socks.
You didn't sled pushes? Yeah.
It's just like I want to find a balance of, strength, endurance, flexibility. I want to be, dude, I want to be that, 45-year-old dad at the youth football practice in the polo looking
for life.
That's my dad over there. So
absolutely. Great answer. And I mean, that's an awesome hobby to have. I mean, so you understand it so well.
Basket weaving. I'm big on basket weaving. I think I got one over here somewhere.
You know what? I was just getting into that too. So how weird. Okay, so last question. Again, thank you everyone for listening. I know it's a long episode. We had so many great things that we've touched on so far. So what's next for Graham in terms of you gonna compete? I know everyone's asking the question, dude. That is the age-old question. The media, the headlines are going crazy.
Man, God.
You don't have to give a yes or no, but
it was like this morning. TMZ was like at my door, and they're like, "Hey, like, is it gonna be classic or is it gonna be men's physique?" And I'm like, I don't know where I'm going. I am going to, I'm just gonna follow my gut, follow my heart. I'm gonna, continue to be happy. At the end of the day, like, I have a real job. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's hard for me to justify, but I think you bringing it up, it's important to have a goal or have like an end point of it. So we'll see. I think more or less, after like, we'll see how good I am at swimming and riding the bike, but like I think like doing maybe like a sprint Ironman, something like that would be fun.
Competitive nature and everything. Yeah.
Or, I know we talked about it earlier, synchronized swimming.
We're ready to go. Get the caps ready.
Yeah. Get the cap on, get the Speedo banana hammock going. Yeah. This is the place to do it. Everybody accepts it. So.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, doing something you love. And you love to lift and train and do all that stuff. And so you're going to keep doing that regardless of where that takes you, I know. And so
until I'm dead, Nick. Until I'm dead.
Well, we will see. That hopefully that day is a long way out. But
quote it.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, thank you everyone for listening. This has been an amazing episode. Graham, thank you for being here and spending a long time with us. 2 hours. This is it's been awesome, man. And I know that. I have a ton of respect for everything that you've done in the sport and personally, and you're a great friend and a great person. So we're definitely blessed to be able to talk to you for a while.
Hey, same to you, Nick. I remember when we were. You can tell a story when we were in at UConn, and I said, "Hey, man, when you're like a big time, businessman one day, don't forget about me. Man.
Exactly.
Let me get a job at least scrubbing the toilets when you're the next Steve Jobs." But I can't tell you, it's fun. I listen to so many podcasts. I love love that we were able to link up and me to be a part of this, and wish you nothing but the best, because you're, one of the most solid dudes I've ever met. Always humble, always super respectful, and not afraid of failing. And that's probably the most important quality to have in life. You know what I mean? The only failure is not trying.
That is so damn true. Wise words to leave you guys with.
Michael Scott, Wayne Gretzky.
Michael Scott, Wayne Gretzky, Graham Stewart.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, those wise words to leave you with. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next one. Wow, what an incredible episode. For those still listening, over 2 hours. We appreciate you so much. What an incredible story Graham has coming up from the early days of playing, going to Florida, his journey transferring to UConn, then fighting through those incredibly serious injuries and persevering through all of that to come and be the great player that he was, and eventually getting a shot in the NFL on the Giants. What an incredible guy, an incredible story. Hope you guys took some things away from that. His mindset in training and being great every day. Clearly you can see the work that he puts in the gym and the hours that he put in when he was playing football. An amazing guy, an amazing story, and I just appreciate him so much. He made me personally an exponentially better player by going up one-on-one with him consistently all the time. And yeah, I just appreciate him and his mindset and everything he does. He's fought through it all, and hopefully you guys can take some great things away from this episode. Hope you guys have enjoyed the series so far. We are through 9 episodes. Episode 10 is going to be something a little bit different, a little bit special. So stay tuned for that. Again, if you're not following us on Instagram, @teammatespodcast, TikTok, and subscribe. And click that like button on YouTube if you're watching us there. Appreciate you all. Thank you. We'll see you soon.